as soon as I see it gone live.
Yeah, that'll be live now, mate. And I'll have a look. What I'll do is I'm looking at my phone as well, because that's the way I can see comments coming in.
Okay.
So, there it says, and that's it.
Right.
So,
what I'm gonna do, mate. I'm just gonna.
Justin, where have you gone? Listen, I'm supposed to be creating some sort of professional setup here, and you're messing up. Can anybody see me or hear me on my Facebook page? Because if not, we're going home. Is there anybody out there? Ah, he's come back in the room.
Back in the room.
Yeah, good man, good man.
Don't know what happened there, mate.
No, it's all right. Don't worry, no problem. So, Justin, nice to see you, mate. How the devil are you?
Great to see you, mate. I'm just going to share your live stream now on Facebook, your Facebook Live. I'm going to share now. Thank you very much, mate. It's a pleasure to see you. How are you doing, man?
Yes, I'm plodding along. I've, as I normally say, I've got absolutely no idea what's going on anywhere. I just do the best I can. My whole philosophy is I just take the day, make the best I can with the resources in front of me, and then tomorrow we'll do the same thing. And it seems to be working quite well. You know, I won't bore you with all the details of, because we met once, didn't we? And so you got me whole history. But yes, because this is about me asking you questions, right? You can get me in a couple of weeks' time on your radio show if you like.
Indeed, it's a collaboration. It's a meeting of minds. It's using your platform and my platform with La Vida to try and make the world a better place through a collaboration such as this. It's a magical thing. One person can do great things, but when we work together and collaborate, you know, we can achieve anything.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that the world, and I'm not being negative when I say this, I'm just being factual. I think that the world is disintegrating very rapidly. I think that all the systems in the world are falling apart for a reason, mate. You know, and I've studied yogic philosophy for a long time now, over 35 years. And the yogins of the past, you know, 5,000, 7,000 years ago, they sort of almost like prophesied this. And what's actually happening is they would call it, we're coming out of what's called the Kali Yuga, which is like hell, right? And we're being sort of uplifted now into the golden age, you know, or if you want to call it the age of Aquarius or whatever. But to use all sorts, I'm not a religious person in the slightest now. I've been that a long time ago, you know, but I do believe that there's invisible spirituality going on, you know, and I think there's a lot happening in the spiritual realms, but we feel it in our physical bodies, you know. And if you're not used to it, you know, you'll be like stressed to buggery. Oh, excuse my French. Stressed to buggery, you know. You'll be like tense. You'll be thinking, what's the point of all this, you know? And that's because I think that we need to surrender now to this great big wave of change. And I think trust the process. I've got no idea what I'm talking about, so I'm going to pass back over to you to see if you can enlighten me or clarify what I've just said.
Yeah, indeed. Well, you know, what you're saying there, Dr. Joe, about, you know, things on an energetic and spiritual level. I mean, the realm we're living in right now is very much I wouldn't even say it's a 3D one. I say it's very much a 2D one. You know, we're living in a society which, you know, it's a sort of manufactured society, which is, you know, it's very, you know, toxic in many ways. And, you know, we're sort of like been conditioned in a way to say, this is this, this is that. It's very superficial on the exterior. But there's everything's energy, everything in the world. It's the governing, you know, the governing, you know, force, the overpowering, overbearing force of everything is energy. Energy can outstand time. Energy is stronger than time. Now, you know, we've been dumbed down and, you know, sort of like been calcified, dumbed down. Our, you know, third eye, you know, has been completely dumbed down. So you know, and we've been conditioned to think of things from the, you know, the exterior, but under the surface, what's really going on, as you say, is a lot of spiritual thing, a lot of energy, and everything is energy. So go back to what I say about having the media as a platform. So obviously I've got La Vida Liverpool and I've got positive media. I'm fighting the good fight through positive media. You've got this wonderful platform that we're on this evening now. So, you know, there is lots of shifts going on. I think more people in the world are waking up to a lot of tyranny that's been forced upon us. You know, I've got to the stage now. I mean, the media is my platform that I use to fight the good fight and to try and, you know, revolutionize and make the world a better place. We've all got different ways we can do this, and this is why collaborations like this is so important. But the media is my way, and you know, of kind of, you know, I've got La Vida Liverpool. It's positive news. That's what it's about, and I'm trying to encourage as many people as possible to choose positive news over the mainstream media, which is 98%, 99% negative, toxic, you know, fear, anger, hatred, division. It's constant. It's a barrage. For me, I'm done trying to, you know, shake people to wake them up, because at the end of the day, you know, some people, you could call a black chair white, you know what I mean? And you could call a black chair black and they'd still think it was white, you know what I'm saying? So there's the, you know, I can't force people, you know, so my way is to slowly show, look, if you choose positive news over, you know, the mainstream media, you know, I mean, some people, if they're not, you know, if they're not awake to the fact now that the mainstream media is 99% negative, which is a lie, because if you look around the society, you know, people are mostly good. You know, if people aren't, you know, awake to that, then I'm just trying to do it slowly. Help them choose positive news over the negative mainstream media, and maybe that's one step towards choosing good over evil, you know.
Christ, you don't have to go on.
Just a bit like I did.
Well, that's what I love. Enthusiasm, you know, it means to walk with spirit. Enthusiasm, you know, from the Greek, you know, and I like people who are vital, right, and full of spirit, you know. And I think that all we can do really is sow a seed, but based upon our personal lived experience, because people don't want any more theory. And I agree with you, by the way, but I don't think that people have done this to us without our permission at some level, you see. Because my big thing is now, if you point the finger, you immediately give your power away and you become the victim, you see. And I think that's what's happened to us. We've been programmed and conditioned into victim consciousness. So, you know, and I agree with you, because I'm very into Tesla, energy, frequency, vibration, and dimensions of subtle energies that actually gently move us, right, and change the way that we feel, because the way that we feel, whether we like it or not, determines what we think, which determines the choices we make, which determine the quality or the lack of quality of our life. So like you said, because I can't half go on as well, you can butt in and say, shut up, you've had enough now.
Well, you can get revenge on my radio show.
Yeah. So I like this phrase I got. It says, fear, an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence is shot through with it, right? And people have played upon that for years. And we've been encoded with fear in our DNA. And I think that that's where we're up to now. There are various techniques now whereby we can drop in almost to the level of our stem cells, and we can use positive energy to rewrite the script at the level of DNA now. And so that's where I'm up to. I'm up to things like rewriting and basically cleaning the script and allow new creative energies to influence to create a better world and make the world a better place. Over to you. It's like tennis. This
like
advantage, Dr. Delaney.
You're serving the huge forehand. I'm Andre Agassi with the backhand. You're back to Pete Sampras there over. I love it. No, it's you know, I think the way I look at things, Dr. Joe, is, you know, we've all got a duty to make the world a better place, you know, and there's lots of ways we can do this. You know, we can do it on a day-to-day basis with every thought, word, and action has a reaction. It's all energy. So, you know, by our thoughts, by our words, by our actions, by every single interaction with another soul, life force, you know, with nature that we have on a daily basis. So we can constantly be making the world a better place. Every day is an opportunity to do, every moment's an opportunity to do so. But if we, you know, I think that where it gets really interesting is if we can, you know, like I'm lucky I've got a vocation that I love with the media, and that's a great opportunity, you know, for me to make the world a better place. Look, at the end of the day, you know, I've had, you know, people call me a conspiracy theorist, whatever. They can, you know, they can say what they like. But, you know, if you look at the food industry, you know, there's a certain few companies who supply, you know, 90% of the world's food supply. So through the, you know, whether people like choose to believe it or not, there's a constant battle going on. There's a constant war against evil through big pharma, right? Through keeping people sick. And I don't care what people think, it's the truth. And through the media, through the mainstream media. Why the hell do you think the Metro newspaper, which is a disgusting rag and should be banned, why is the Metro newspaper free on every damn train and public transport? Because if you look at the words in it, it's all fear, anger, hatred, division, killing, bombing, terror, murder, you know. So the war's against us that way, right? So, you know, the education system, that's another story. You know, the stuff they put in the food, the water, you know, there's the governments are all corrupt. It's a crusade, you know. It's basically it's tyranny, you know, on every angle you look at. So I think if you're, whatever field you're in, is an opportunity to take that step further of making the world a better place. So for me, it's the media. You know, we've all got to be in it together to fight this evil. And we've got to do it in, you know, you can do it in a subtle way. You know, if I was to go to the BBC headquarters and start, you know, trashing the place and started massive protests, you know, you're falling into their hands. The way to do it is to you know, to play that my own game. I use positive words, you know, to make the world a better place. I use alliteration, the power of three. I use clickbait, but I'm using it for the good. So it's to play them at their own game and to slowly, you know, whatever field you're in is an opportunity to try and slowly get people on board and think, hold on a minute, yeah, you know, there's got to be another way. You know what I mean?
Goodness gracious me. Well, here's my philosophy, like it or lump it, you know. I was told a long time ago, you need to stop fighting, Joe. And I said, well, hang on, the world's in a mess. I need to do something because I can see what's going on. They said, no, you misunderstand what I'm saying is, right? If you don't want to fight, don't get in the boxing ring, right? And what they were talking about is, they were talking about my emotional reactivity to what was going on outside of me. Right. So everything was, I was in fight and flight all the time. That's what they were talking about. He said to me, this bloke who guided me through this process, he was a martial artist, you know, and he worked a lot with Aikido and Kung Fu and all that, you know. And he said, it's the art of fighting, Joe, without fighting. He said, you've got to use, as you've just said, you've got to use their energy against them. You just need to turn it round in a very subtle way. Right. Yeah. He says, so it doesn't mean the fight stops. It just means that you stop fighting, but you start take action now. And the action you take is create something beautiful. So first of all, find yourself, then be yourself, then create something beautiful from yourself. Without forcing your opinions or anything else on anybody else. Just allow them to see that you've changed and your whole attitude now radiates positivity, care, compassion, health and well-being, you know. And that's what I've done now for the last 35 years. I wake up in the morning, I tap on me heart, I say to me heart, what's on the cards today, heart? Because I'm talking to me intuition, right? And that's kept me in good stead now for nearly 35 years, you know. And so what I'm saying is that we need to be subtle, and I agree with you, toxicity, but there's such a thing as positive toxicity as well, you know. And we use something, organizations use psychology in order to influence people, you know, and you know this well, but they work on subliminal stuff, you know, and most people have got no idea that they're being subliminally targeted all the time and flooded with this information. And if you just look at the mass media now and also the television programs, you'll see that Coronation Street, that other one, that London one, whatever that's called.
Trash.
Yeah. all those sort of things. But at the moment, Emmerdale, Coronation Street and EastEnders, they're all very, very violent. There's a lot of violent stuff coming up. And what that does is it subliminally puts people on the guard. And when you're on guard, you can't think clearly, because you can only think on the defensive, unless, Justin, you become more aware of how your body's picking up these signals, right? And we'll get on to chemical toxicity in a minute about eating and drinking. But for the moment, this is the way that we digest thoughts and how the thoughts impact upon our body. Over to you.
No problem, Sampras. Agassi's about to serve a great backhand now as well. Yeah, basically, what obviously me working in the field of media, and in particular words, I'm very passionate about the power of words. And there's a Japanese scientist, Sakamoto, I forgot his name.
Matsuru Emoto.
The Japanese scientist in the 70s, did that experiment where he got water particles, and basically he played different music. So he played some classical music and he played some death metal. He started to these water particles saying loads of nice, soothing words, and then started saying lots of angry words and horrible words. And it changed the molecular, as you know yourself, changed the molecular structure of the water particles. Now, considering we are mostly water, it's been scientifically proven that every word has energy. It's all energy. And a good example, when I had a couple of girls doing work experience with me with the magazine La Vida Liverpool, and on the first exercise, I wanted to teach the girls about the power of the media, and how through the media you can bring about love, hope, unity, all this great stuff. And they got to write their own article, and they saw how it made other people happy, and the people they were writing about. They got to co-produce it and present a radio show. But the first exercise on the work experience was to get the Metro newspaper, and to basically, I said, don't just read it the way you'd normally. What would you normally do? Pick up and read blindly. Let's instead highlight the bad words, the horrible words in this rag. So basically, we're starting to read them, underline all these horrible words. I said, how would you feel if I said you wouldn't go to school on a bus or train and write on an A4 piece of paper all them words and just start reading it like that. I said, you'd be seen as clinically insane. And I said, look, how does it feel when I start reciting these words? Fear, price increases, death, bombings, torture. And the lady from the next, to prove my point, the lady from the next office came in and said, is everything all right, Justin? I said, there you go. People are bloody concerned, And I said, so why are people going to start the day on the public transport reading this horrible? I said, the opposite is, let's have a look at La Vida. Let's have a look at my magazine. Let's have a look at all these great words. And how does it make people feel when, so we went into a venue and as people are reading my magazine, they got a smile on their face, It's the power of words. And, it's all energy, like you say.
I agree with you, mate. And it's very interesting in that we've been dumbed down, emotionally repressed and constrained. So anything that brings in fight and flight gives us an instantaneous excitement, actually, right? And that's what people get. They get from all that negative stuff. They get initially an excited feeling, because it's bringing their feelings back. I mean, they're not stupid, these people who are manipulating us or trying to, but I agree entirely with you. Most people, and this is where I was for years, I was just like a head on a stick. Everything was being processed in my head, and I sort of detached from my body and wasn't listening to the signals that my body was trying to send me, and I became very ill. And I won't bore people with the detail, but I became very, very ill for a long time, and until I was in the psychiatric department a few times. And it was only in there that I realized I'd just been living everybody else's life, and that I was just like a programmed automaton with no thoughts of my own, And once I started to see that, I started to become furious. And that's when this bloke who helped me said, no, he said, you need to use this fury now, all this contained energy, like atomic energy. You need to use it now to go forward and create a better world. And the better world will be in alignment with what you're innately good at. So what are you good at? And you know what, Justin, I didn't have a clue, mate. I had no idea about myself whatsoever, right? And so I've been guided through the process to work with my strengths and not my weaknesses. But the world will tell you you're no good at that and you need to train it. And we're always fighting against stuff that's not natural to us. So just to go back to your point, I agree with you, the power of words, but it's also the power of the script as well. And DNA is nothing more than encoded and crystallized behavior from the past. Yes. And we're still working off ancestral stuff, fear and condition that's gone back thousands upon thousands of years. So once you start to realize that, every time you get an emotional reaction, the idea would be is not to go forward and react. It would be to stop, take a step back, settle down, calm down, and think again. Over to you.
Well, yeah, but what you say, going back to what I say, some of the stuff I've talked about and that, if anyone's, if it ever got met with a response from someone of, oh, you're crazy conspiracy theorist, talking nonsense, I'll say to them, well, answer me this. Is this society we're living in, is this system working? No, mental health is on the rise. I refer back to the media. I refer back to the stuff in the food. The 95% of food out there has got toxins and absolute carcinogenic rubbish in it. It's bad for us. 95% of the media out there, and the mainstream media in particular, which I refer to, again, a handful of companies controlling most of the food supply. It's the same with the mainstream media. It's a lot of, it's toxic, and the system and the society we're living in, it's not working, because I'd say mental health issues are on the rise, suicides are on the rise, there's a lot of crime. There's got to be a better way. And I think the likes of you talking about finding your purpose and that before, I think you and I are blessed, and we're lucky in that we found our passion, our calling. We found what we were designed to do. I see the power of my work with the media and how it makes people feel, and the positive impact it has in the world with the work I do through positive media. And that brings me a great sense of pride and satisfaction, and and love, and having that purpose, finding that purpose. As I say, I refer back to the beginning when I said, people on a day-to-day basis, you've got a duty to make the world a better place. You can do that with everything you're doing, but if you find a vocation and something that's your calling and your purpose in this life, that's a massive step towards happiness, really. So yeah, as I say, it's I'm very lucky that I found that. I was, previous to what I was doing with the magazine, I was working in the corporate world, I was working in sales. You can work in that kind of role and still live a very fulfilled life and a very purposeful life. You can do a lot of charity work. You can have a great impact on your co-workers and your colleagues. You can strike great relationships with the clients you're talking to over the phone, trying to sell them stuff. You still got opportunity to make the world a better place. But when I was in that world before, you're talking about your past before you found what you were really designed to do here. I was, I think before I was very much in the corporate toxic sales world, where it's all about money. It's all money orientated. Now, for me in this world, you've got two ways of looking at things. You look at things whether, I'm going to do this magazine, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, because I'm leading with money. I want to make as much money as possible. That's my goal, or you lead from a place of, I want to make the world a better place through what I'm doing. I want to make a difference here. And I want to really, generate as much good energy and karma as possible, and to fight these forces against this. And I think if you're leading from the heart and from a place of goodness, and you want, And with what I'm doing, you know, I don't see it as, oh, that's a client and that's their business. Say that's a soul, that's an energy force, that's a soul, a being who's got blood, you know, blood, sweat, tears, and hopes and dreams with their creation that they're doing. I'm leading them from a place of goodness, and I think if you do that, and you're coming from that good place, you know, that really good place of good intention, you know, the universe listens, doesn't it? It listens to, watches everything we're doing.
Couldn't agree more, mate. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's called, in Japanese, it's called ikigai. Right. I don't know if you ever heard of that. I-K-I-G-A-I. I-K-I-G-A-I, ikigai. And it's about finding your calling. It's about working. It's a strength-based approach. And you work with what's strong in people, not with what's wrong with people. So you help people, because that's what we've done is, you know, most of us, or I'll talk about me, I was identified with some sort of ego structure and I didn't know it, because I was, from an early age, I was told, make enough money as you possibly can, right? Study hard, climb the ladder, this, that, and the other. And in the end, that philosophy that was given to me by my mum and dad, because they didn't know any better, because they'd worked hard all their life. It was given to me by religion. It was given to me by the medical field and the biomedical field, right? And in the end, I was that unhappy working off everybody else's programs that I tried to do myself in. That's where it brought me to. And then it was in that process, thank goodness, right, that the light went on and I thought, hang on a second, I've never had an opportunity here to work with who I really am, you know, and my job is to help people to plug back into their hearts. So it's to come out of their heads and back into their hearts, and then get them to listen to the messages that their heart's sending. Not to tell them what to do, is just to suggest all the answers to all your problems. The solution to every single problem that you've got is already within you, and it's trying to break out. And you mentioned the good word, vocation. Vocation, as you said, it means a calling, you know, but it needs a voice. And we've been dumbed down, really. We've been repressed in not allowing ourselves to fully express what's trying to come out. And I think what's actually happening now is there's a massive, massive shift now in consciousness. And it's breaking all these bonds now. And people are starting to free themselves and think, hang on, I've had enough of all this shit now. I'm just going to be myself. You know what I mean? But I would say to them, like my sponsor said to me, he said, Joe, he said, you'll be furious and you'll want to blame outside of yourself. He said, this is all part of you growing spiritually, growing emotionally, and also finding your true purpose in life. So stop pointing the finger, because really it's part of your recovery of your personal sovereignty.
Indeed.
So on that word sovereignty, I'll pass you back over.
Very regal word there, indeed. I think, you know, talking about there again, you know, your calling and finding a purpose in life, a lot of that I think comes down to, you know, childhood and conditioning from an early age. I talk again about the media. So as a kid, you know, you're watching TV, there's all these flashing lights. It's all about gearing and you know, people up for desire. As a lot of Buddhist philosophy says, desire is a very destructive thing. In fact, it's seen as a sin in some cultures. Desire is very destructive because it leads to blind, you know, people do bad things when they have too much desire. But we are, as a very early age, as kids, programmed to watch these, you know, commercials, adverts. I want. And, you know, we're kind of molded into these consumers, you know, and unfortunately, the education system, I'm working with a primary school at the moment, which I've learned a lot of information. It's been a really interesting insight into the education system, you know, and the likes of Ofsted, who are, you know, basically like the SS really. And, you know, you know, they basically are supposed to be, the education system is supposed to be caring for children, and the Ofsted is supposed to have the children's well-being and education at the forefront of what they do, which is not, because, you know, Ofsted are putting a lot of pressure on teachers, and a lot of pressure. Teachers' mental health, you know, in tatters, you know, the education system's toxic. You know, they're not teaching kids about well-being, about, you know, about mental health. They're not teaching kids enough about, you know, how to regulate their emotions, and the consequence of their actions. And, you know, they're not teaching kids about, you know, purpose and self-love and self-worth and leading with the heart and trying to make the world a better place. It's like Pythagoras theorem and you know, and algebra and you know, numerology is very important. You know, it's a powerful force in itself, but you know, there's too much focus on sort of logic rather than, as you say, you know, leading with the heart. And a lot of kids are growing up, and people are growing up emotionally, spiritually malnourished. You know, they're not getting you know, how can a parent who hasn't learned these things and self-love and self-worth and stuff, how can a parent who hasn't learned these teach their kids that? And they're certainly not teaching it in schools. So people are growing up lost, and people are wondering, you know, anyone who called me a conspiracy theorist along the lines, well, Einstein, excuse me, you know, you're wondering why there's mental health issues in society. You're wondering why, you know, the suicides are on the rise and people are screwed up. Well, look at what I've just said about the education system. Look at like the way we're programmed to want, desire, desire, desire. Look at the way people ain't got no purpose. Look at the way the education system hasn't allowed children to do what they were meant to do. You know, you're surprised given the fact that, you know, people are lost, people have no purpose, people have no calling. You're surprised that the mainstream media is 99% barrage, and it's even worse now that we've got, you know, the obviously social media and the platforms, you know, and the pop stars who are also disgusting, you know, as bad as these rags of newspapers, the pop stars who are sexualizing stuff for children. You know, are you surprised given all the you know, toxins and crap in the food and the water, you know, and you know, it's like, look, it's a barrage. You know, are you surprised given that every single government is corrupt? We're governed by tyrants. Oh, well, some of them are all right. No, they're not all right, because they get whacked. The reason these guys are in power, any good person in charge of a government will not have a decision in you know, the good in the world, and they end up whacked. You know, at the end of the day, it's a war from every angle, and it starts at childhood, at birth, even you know. So, you know, it's anyway, back to you. That was a strong backhand, wasn't it? That was a strong.
It was very good, that, and it was a swerve there, because I went to get it and it got further away from me. You know what I mean? So I think that you're quite sort of adamant about some of these things that you feel, and I think that's good. And I'd have to say that everything that you've just said, I concur, you know. But I think that some of us have a more subtle way of doing things. Some people can go out there, they can be the warrior, they don't need the chest plate on because they know that, you know, they can do that. But some people, I think, right, have to be more subtle. And I think I'm like Oscar Schindler, me. I'm sort of in with the in, but I'm in there sort of infiltrating, really. And I think education, I love words, you know, and education, there's two root words from education. There's educere, which means to draw out of, and there's educare, which means to pour into. And I think there's too much educare and not enough educere, you know what I mean? Because to me, education is really about like a snake charmer. It's allowing the essential skills and attributes of the child to, like a seed, you know, like planting a seed and providing it with the correct nutrients and stuff, that the child will grow itself. And I always say this is one of my favorite poems is from Khalil Gibran, from the Prophet, and it says, your children are not your children, they come through you, not from you. And that's where we've gone wrong in a large way, you know. And something else, another word, caput capitis, means head. It's the root word of capitalism, and that's what's being driven. Our society has been driven from the head and basically dominated by a patriarchal society for a long time. And I think what's happening now in the cycle of yugas from yoga, what's actually coming in now and sweeping across the planet is a great big feminine energy that's like a cleansing energy. And it's there to wash away, if you like, all the shrouds and all the coverings and just expose everything. But it's also there to guide us in a much more caring, compassionate, and realistic way forward. And just to say this, what I've also learned is it's all to do with the hemispheres of the brain as well, because the left side's associated with masculine, it's associated with straight lines, it's associated with logic, right? And that's the side that we've both mostly been using. But the right side now is associated with femininity, gentleness, rest, recuperation, relaxation, but also creativity. And so more and more people are becoming more and more creative, and that's where the balance is coming in. Over to you, Justin. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, you're getting a forehand this time. In fact, double-handed forehand. Yeah, so basically, talking about what you said and what we've, we've mentioned a couple of times in this enlightening chat, by the way. It's been great. What we've mentioned a couple of times, what you said there, is about, doing things a bit subtly. And, I say that, I say about, my aim of, through one article, one word at a time, one article at a time, trying to fight the bad and the negative media with positive media and encourage people to choose that. That is a sort of approach. But talk about the bigger picture. My ultimate aim and what I would like to see is there's a lot of work to be done still. It might never be finished. Well, I know it'll never be finished. But I would like to see my media source, which is nothing but love and positivity, become the biggest in the region. If La Vida Liverpool was I've got an online magazine and I've got social media. I've got a print magazine, which is 5,000 copies throughout the region. It's pretty much, I'd say it's the best. There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Joe. Nice one. There we have it. I would say it's the best print magazine in the region. 5,000 copies. It's not far off being the biggest. I've got some plans in motion, and I'd like that to be the biggest, certainly the biggest and best magazine in the region. And I'd love for La Vida to become the biggest media source in the region. Now we go back again to saying this is not out of money. This is not about money or ego. The bigger the La Vida can be, the more impact it can have. I write an article, I'll do some PR, whatever I do. It's positive. My friends, my family, my followers all feel great by reading this, very positive story and then this positive content. The person it's about, the family, friends, followers, all feel great. It's a mushroom effect of goodness. New people reading it for the first time. Of course, you get the odd. Oh, I need to close this tab. Sorry, mate. Of course, you get the the odd troll out there or someone who's going to be negative. That's their issue. But it's a mushroom effect of love. Now,
Hello. Justin, you frozen? Is it me or? No, you frozen, mate. I don't know whether you can hear me on your phone or whatever. You might have to log out and log back in again. I'll talk to the people here while you reset yourself. The great reset. Hello, Annie. Nice to see you, love. Isabel. Nice to see you, Izzy. Rita. Andrew, lovely to see you all. Joe Cross, hello, Joe Cross. Oh, you've come back into the country for a bit, have you? Right. Yes, maybe he shouldn't have closed that tab, or maybe the tab was closed for him with all the stuff we're talking about. Hey, who cares? As they say, who cares wins. He's a bit good with words, isn't he? It's like a battle of words here, trying to get a word in edgeways. Justin Hopper on the run. Where have you gone, mate? Come back. Thanks very much, Daryl. We'll try and keep it interesting. It's going to get more interesting in a minute when we talk about toxicity at all levels, I think. But I think more and more of people are waking up now to the realization that we've basically been programmed and conditioned into slavedom. That's where I see it now from my personal life. I see it, it's almost like part of a big plan that we gain our own freedom. So, out of bondage into freedom, but we've got to almost like disentangle these bonds ourselves by learning, really. That's how I sort of see it. I don't know where he's gone. Do you think I've like upset him? He doesn't look like a person who's easily upset. Oh dear. Justin, come back, will you? Well, have you gone to the loo or something? What's going on? Yeah, so that's how I see it. I think Justin and I, we've only met once, but we spent a long time talking about things. And where I'm personally up to now is I'm trying to help to re-establish things like education and health and medicine, on a different footing, really. And I think education, I'm very much in favor of homeschooling. And also I'm working with people down south, Conquers Earth School. It's about helping children from the earliest age to connect with nature and stay connected to nature. Because I do feel that the children, here he is, the children being born now are coming in with more information than we could possibly realize about how to create a better world. So he's on a different phone. He's on a different phone now.
I don't know what, Dr. Delaney, I don't know what happened with my laptop. It just all of a sudden kicked me out, and then I went to, it said 403 forbidden. I think they were listening to us.
I think you might be right. It's probably because I know, and I used to get this paranoia, which turned out to be true. In 1987, I was screaming, the lampposts are listening to us, the lampposts are watching us, and it's all come true. You know what I mean? But they didn't say you'll have to go at 20 miles an hour. That's a new thing. So yeah, I've just been talking to people just to say some of the things I'm interested in is education, certainly right from the start, and I'm very much in favor of homeschooling. And I think there's a great big movement now towards homeschooling, but not just that, nature schooling as well. Like I'm working with people called Conquers Earth School, and they're about helping children from a very early age to understand how to forage, how to work with nature skills, how to create lotions and potions and all sorts of good stuff, So that's one thing I'm interested in. But the other thing is health and medicine as well, because I do believe that the medicine of the future is really all vibrational. It's all to do with understanding subtle energy medicine and how to tune in ourselves and become more responsive to what our bodies and our body signals are trying to tell us. Anyway, back to you, mate. I don't know what else you've got to say.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, I was saying there about, we were talking about doing things subtly, and I was talking about, bigger picture for La Vida, to try, and the bigger La Vida can be, the more positive impact it can be as a media source. And if we can make that the biggest media source in the region, it's a blueprint. Like I say, to the way for world domination is not necessarily to take it to start a World War III all of a sudden. It's about the way they've always done it country by country. So the way for good to take over evil, with the media, my idea is if we can have in Merseyside the positive good media source becoming the biggest, if that can be a blueprint, region by region by region, we can really give them a run for the money. There's, as I say, there's different realms. Like you say, there's education, there's medicine, there's food. There's so many different realms. Different occupations, different sort of like vocations. There's all these different fields. You know what I mean? And I think we need to go back to what I was saying at the beginning. We need to sort of infiltrate, really, and play them at their own game. I'm doing that through the media, and I will not stop until my last breath to try and take on the negative and the fear, anger, hatred, division with positive media. And that's my way of doing so. But what I was going to say as well, I had this conversation today I know that we should do things subtly, but you know, I think there are times where sort of you know, more action and more, you know, sort of, I think more drastic action is sort of required. Now, being in the media, I work with a lot of hospitality businesses and a lot of independent businesses. Now, a lot of these businesses are saying to me, Justin, oh, the energy prices, we're getting squeezed. This COVID happened and the lockdowns, and you know, our businesses are closing, and you know, the interest rates are going up. And that's what these guys are doing. They're saying, oh, well, how can we suppress the masses? How can we keep them down? Okay, I know. Let's create a war. We can all do arms deals, make a load of money, kill a load of the population off, and we can also suppress the masses whilst we're at it. Oh, sorry, guys, there's a war. We're going to have to increase the fuel prices and the energy prices. They can pull the people. The biggest, you know, illusion is people thinking they're in control because they vote. What a load of trash that is. You know, democracy is the biggest smokescreen ever. People, you know, people think they're actually, you know, they got choices. It's a load of nonsense. They can pull the rug out. They can increase the prices, increase the energy, increase the everything, increase the interest rates at any time. Mortgage rates, sorry guys, they've gone up. You'll have to struggle now, and that's what we're fighting against. So we're fighting a losing battle. We're playing a game we can never win. So I've spoke to a few of my you know, people I work with who've got independent businesses. I said, why on earth? You see the way they have, you know, the dock workers, they have the trade unions, you know, and the trade union bosses try and do something, and then you have all these like dock workers starting a union saying, actually, no, we want equal pay. Why don't businesses set up a huge independent business alliance, you know, this union, and actually turn around and say, do you know what, energy guys? Nah, anything above X% is fuel poverty. So we as businesses were only willing to pay X amount of our turnover for energy. And if they say, okay, well, we can't arrest everyone. You say if there's 250,000 independent businesses in the UK, for example, normally there are, you can't arrest 250,000 business owners. You can't physically do it. The jails are full anyway. So what does he turn around and say? That's what we're paying. Okay, well, we'll plunge you into darkness. Sound. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Let's go into the dark age, because when we do, we'll all be at your doors and there'll be absolute murder. It'll just be a complete and utter free-for-all dark age we're living in. So I've been talking about rising up against evil, fighting the crusade of evil by using the good and subtle tactics, positive media and all that. But sometimes, you know, it does call for more drastic action. I think that should happen on a business. You know, I don't understand why there isn't a union and why businesses complain about having to get shut down and just say no.
I agree. Sometimes you need to punch with love, I call it. Punching with love. And, you know, it has to be sensed from one moment to the next, the best way forward. And this is what I've learned is, as I said before, there is an innate intelligence in us that if we're just willing to listen to it, it will guide us through this process, whether we need to punch or go forward or back off or do nothing. You know, this is the thing now, because most people live on instinct and intellect alone. They're so distracted, they never get to the next stage of human development, which is where they break into the spiritual dimension. This is when their soul comes online and starts to guide them. You know what I mean? And so the idea would be is to help people to become less distracted and to spend some time turning their heads around and looking within and trying to get a sense of how they're being guided from within. Now, I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about great cosmic consciousness and quantum intelligence here. And this is coming to the fore more and more. As more people wake up, they get into the realization that there's something in them that's been trying to guide them for eons of time, you know. And in the end, Justin, what happens to me is I live now by intuition and inspiration. I don't plan anything. I just wake up, I open my heart, and that accesses my soul. And I basically say to my soul, and I'm not being religious, it's spiritual certainly, but I say to my soul, you can see the bigger picture. I hand my ego over to you. Please feel free to use me in any way that you see fit for the benefit of me, my family, and the community at large. And I do that every day. And do you know what, mate? My life has been totally and utterly transformed by it. You know, and I agree with you that the world is toxic. What we eat, 95%, as you say, is full of so-called convenience chemicals. You know, they basically stop things growing, but when we eat them, they stop us growing. They cause something called meta-inflammation. Because, you know, I'm a senior research fellow in medicine, you know, and something that's really important to me, and I'm sure that most of the people listening to this, is complete information from both sides. Because informed consent, it doesn't need to be forced upon us, right? We need to have the ability to get information as much as we can from both sides, and then weigh that up and discern for ourselves the actions we need to take. That's called free will choice, you know. And I think anybody who's trying to force it, and it can be done in a positive way as well, anyone who's trying to forcefully push their opinion on you, right, that causes me to resent them and to react and go backwards then. So, you know, there's a way to do it. And as you say, it's about open-heartedness, straightforwardness, expressing what we feel to be the truth, because Justin, your truth and my truth might be at completely different poles, right?
Yeah.
But unless we express it and get it all out onto the table, there might be some good bits coming from you, some from me, some from everybody else. If we take all the good bits, push the other stuff aside, not discard it, because it might come in next week and we might need it. So it's from one moment to the next, working in an open heart, collaborative way. That's the only way we can go forward. And I know that there's loads of people listening to this who are not thick, right, who might have ideas similar to ours. It's about getting together and taking action and not reaction, right? I've got on one because you've got me going now as well, you know. but be careful not to be blaming everybody, because whether we like it or not, we've allowed this to happen either through our lack of education, our naivety, our stupidity, and our basic willfulness. That's why we're in the situation we're in now. And that's why the world's in the state it's in, because we're all collectively responsible for it, whether we like it or not. Goodness gracious me, in nobody partis et filio et spirit. I can feel a priest coming on.
And, you know, every single thought, word, and action, it's all that fighting back. Conversations like this, you know, talking to, you know, every conversation, every thought, word, and action is an opportunity to fight back against the negative energy and the evil energy and the dark energy, you know, by working together. Even a conversation with the intent to make the world a better place, even if nothing comes of it, it's the intent that's been put out there. You know, as I say, collaboration, like you say, is key. You know, if one person can do great things themselves, once we start, you know, combining our collaborative energy, when we start, you know, exchanging ideas, exchanging, you know, knowledge, you know, it's all a step towards a better world and a better place to be. And, you know, I think if you come in, like I said, refer back to saying before about coming from a place of love, I think one of the biggest problems in the world, so it's talked about desire before, you know, but ego is a huge issue. You get a lot of people who, you know, the virtual signal, they think they're doing great in the world, but they're actually, and they think that this is like second coming and whatnot, you know, we've seen them all before, you know, but it's actually coming from a place of ego, you know, they're coming from a place of, you know, power, you know, they're doing it because they're doing this because it's identity. I am this, look at what I'm doing. Look, I'm sent here to change the world, you know, there's a subtle fine line between doing that and doing it from, if you're doing it genuinely from a place of love, from deep within there, I think you know that, you know, I think when people look deep down, I mean, again, without trying to sound like I'm contradictory, and I think I'm the second coming here, but you know, I look in the mirror, I look into my soul, I look into me, I know, and that's why, you know, I've got a lot of friends and people very fond of me, because I'm genuine, I'm real, it's coming from here, it's coming from my heart. People know this deep down. They know that, I'm trying to, change the world of this positive media, money and all that crap, it's a byproduct, right? People know that. And I think when you are genuinely trying to, a good human being, and you're doing everything, and I do things like you mentioned before about doing things on a day-to-day basis. I wake up in the morning and think, right, I just chip away day by day. Of course, I've got plans. I think, right, we wake up in the morning, we try two simple rules. We try our hardest, just go for it. Try it hardest. For some people, if they're crippled with anxiety or something, sometimes trying the hardest, it could just be, getting changed and walking out the door. It's all relative. Try your hardest and be a damn good human being. Be nice, be kind, be good. Every thought, word, and action, just try your best and be nice every single day. And if you just chip away and do that every damn day, the universe listens. I mean, I feel like I've got a really good relationship with the universe. I love it. I feel like it's a beautiful energy that I completely trust implicitly in. I know it watches and listens to everything, and I trust it. I love it. I'm so grateful. And I feel like I've got a good relationship with the universe. I think the only way to gain that is to literally just, like I say, every single day, just be the love, be the light,
I agree, mate. And to me, it's not about thinking about it. It's a feeling, isn't it? What drives me is a feeling. And when I don't feel like I'm flowing, I have to take a step back. And I have a conversation, not out loud, but I say to my heart and my soul, what is it that you're trying to show me? Because every obstruction in me is an indication that maybe I'm going in the wrong direction. So that's how I listen to my heart now, and I allow it. And I'm not a bloody saint, mate. I mean, I don't feel like a good person. I don't feel like a bad person. I just feel like a person. You know what I mean? So I go with it. I get a feeling, and I just hand me will and me life over to the care of this thing deep within me. And then I just do what I feel like then, because I say, guide my emotions, guide my feelings, and guide me thoughts. I say, I'm going to hand it all over to you. You can have Joseph Delaney today. ER, tell him what to do. And that's what I go with it. And it's not something that's outside of me. It's something that's in me. It's part of me. It's the next stage of my evolution. It's whatever you want to call it. I don't get too lost in it. I just go with the feeling. But the big thing I've learned is to let go of any expectations about the direction that it's going in, because it knows better than me, because it's like an overseer. And when I get moved by it, I just go with it. And it's more of a surprise than anything else, because I think it's taken me in one direction and I end up in completely different direction, So it's letting go of outcomes, because somebody once told me, that, or I made a formula up. And it was that peace of mind. That means when you're comfortable with yourself and you're comfortable in your own skin, peace of mind is inversely proportional to 1 over expectations. And what that means is the more expectations you have, right, the less peace of mind you've got. And so I trust this process now, that I'm being guided from 1 second to the next, from one breath to the next, right? And that's how I live my life. Do I make mistakes all the time? But you know what? I'm all right with that, because I'm doing the best that I can. I'm not trying the best that I can. I'm doing the best that I can. We've got 3 minutes left, mate. So if you want anybody, by all means, by the way, if I thought you were on here marketing La Vida and it was coming from your head, no, seriously, listen me out. And it was coming from your head and you were going to try and do that, you wouldn't be on here, mate. Right. That's the thing, because I know that you're working from the heart, same vibration as me, same vibration as lots of people on here, and I feel it. And that's what I tend to go with, you know what I mean?
Nice one. And, obviously, got to give a shout out as well to our mutual friend, Flo, Peter Forrest, who introduced us. Massive shout out to Peter. And, because, he told me about your great work and what a great guy you are. And, it's been, it was a real pleasure meeting you a few weeks ago. And it's so great to have this conversation. Like I say, meetings of minds and energies, you know what I mean? And all these conversations are so important, because you're looking to make the world a better place. You're genuinely wanting to do that, and a good person. So am I. Let's open up these conversations, share these, these ideas. And so big shout out to Flo, who's a great guy himself, for introducing us. And I'm looking forward very much to having you on my radio show. With the station's moving, so should be back on air in a couple of weeks. So I guess it'll be round 2, or should I say set 2, between Sampras and Agassi.
Sampras and Agassi, that's going back a bit, isn't it? You'd be taking me back to Rod Laver next and all that. I'm coming up to 69, but in my mind or in my body, 17 I am. It's causing me all sorts of trouble. I just want to say about Peter Forrest as well, and Flo. I hope he doesn't mind. Well, it's tough if he does, because I'm going to say it anyway. But there's many people like Peter who are working in the background, right? And they do so much work. They basically spend 24 hours a day trying to feel their way to creating a better world, And I know thousands upon thousands of people across the planet who are doing the same thing. So I know it might seem, when you look out there at the moment, hopeless, but I can feel this undercurrent, if you like, of a golden thread, really. I see it, So don't despair, everybody. If you're going through a hard time, we need to work together, and we need to just be as honest as possible, because if we don't work together, it's not a threat, it's just a reality. And clearly, the way I see it, we've all got skills, we've all got abilities, we're all different in those. So if we all chip in, there's no way that we can fail. You know what I mean? And I think you're right as well. We've been duped in all sorts of different ways. There's a thing that says, don't look up. Well, if I were you, I'd look up and seeing what's going on up there as well, because there's a lot of stuff going on there that was denied for years and years and years, but they've just admitted, oh, no. It's been going on for such a long time. So geoengineering, weather manipulation, food manipulation, education manipulation, it's all falling apart. Financial manipulation, it's falling apart for a reason. But there needs to be us coming up now, using the same infrastructure with a different sort of motivation behind it. Christ, I have turned into the proper Pope, and bless you all. Justin, mate, you're a lovely fella, and I hope to see you in the flesh soon. And if there's anything I can ever do, if I can, I will. That, mate.
Yeah, and you know what? You're a great guy, and keep up the great work. It's as I say, it's a pleasure to get to know you. I'm looking forward to having you on my radio show as well, and I'm looking forward to future collaborations. We should definitely get to Flows for a dinner sometime soon. And
good idea.
Nice.
And thank you, everybody, for listening in. And if you feel that you can help in any way, get on to Justin, because I'm too busy. And mate, I hardly ever answer any emails or any messages, because I'm up to there with stuff, you know what I mean? So I'm not trying to flog anything or flog myself, but just to say, if you feel that your heart's opening and you're flowing, sit with it, ask it, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to show me?
Nice.
May the force remain with you, and forever and ever, in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Thanks very much, Justin, and see you soon, mate.
Nice one, Dr. Joe, legend. Thanks for having me, man.
Ta-ra, mate. Ta-ra.
Cheers, mate.